Thanks for tuning in to the Pre-Patch Podcast. Check out these patch notes.
Ubisoft launched.
Speaking of Ubisoft,
Mousetrap on
Yeah.
consoles.
Trap.
It's a trap.
So Mousetrap, it's the newest way to prevent console cheating that Ubisoft has come up with, and effectively what it does is it
Real
detects.
fast. I just don't want to be confused with Mouse Hunt, the 1997 comedy family movie,
or the board game.
or the board game.
Or the board game.
Yeah,
exactly.
This is totally different.
And since we're talking about mice, can you move your mouse so your camera doesn't go away?
I actually just did.
Okay, just want to make sure. All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what it does is it detects inputs from external adapters that would allow for mouse and keyboard input on consoles, and instead of outright banning players, which if things go sour they still have the right to do because it is still defined in their terms of service with Rainbow Six Siege as cheating on those platforms, so they still have the right to ban if they want to, but as of right now all it does is severely ups the latency of your inputs on mouse and keyboard. So you won't be able to aim effectively. You won't be able to shoot with proper reaction timing. It will make the game nigh unplayable.
Yeah, which that's
for
great.
people.
That is so annoying, honestly.
Yeah. So that's what they're
worse than
doing.
being banned.
If you have that stuff implemented, you're basically a free kill to anybody that is using controller properly. I've been looking to the community. There are so many salty tryhards on the console community that say that, oh, this is going to ruin the game. Game is dead now that they've modded off mouse and keyboard from console.
It still doesn't stop them from using like Chronos and stuff like that, right?
Chronos, Zim, both of those, all gone.
Oh, it will kill it? Oh, wow.
Yep. It will make your, anybody that uses either Zim or Chronos, both of those will be, as far as I know Zim 100%. Chronos, I'm fairly certain it is the same way too. But it'll make it so that your input latency is through the roof and you can't play the game effectively.
Yeah.
And then so many games after you switch back to controller will still be penalized in that fashion.
Yeah, it takes like a number of games or whatever to get back to normal. But it's just crazy to think that people are saying this is like the killer of Rainbow Six. But I know the console market for Rainbow Six, it's big, but
right.
Still, I
think
feel like
I think
the
PlayStation
PC
is still
and
the largest player base for Siege right now.
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah. Plus the pro, teams. I mean, that's all PC, right? Like that's
right.
not. I'm sure they have console pros, but it's all
they
PC. The main ones, right? Like the big events. So I don't know. That's just kind of funny to me. Like.
It is. If anything, I think would be the opposite, where console players are more likely to come back to the game now that they don't have to put up with mouse and keyboard, that level of reaction.
It's not a cheat.
And aim.
It's more of like an exploit. Like it shouldn't.
Ubisoft defines it as cheating on console. They stated outright that they see it as cheating.
I could see it as being defined as a cheat. I mean, it's just it's more of a loose cheat, it's nothing like
it's a hardware cheat.
It's a
So the system itself lets you connect, like the PlayStation 5 and Xbox One or Xbox Series X will let you hook up a mouse and keyboard to it, correct?
I believe
you don't have to have software.
So the game does not allow for mouse and keyboard inputs directly.
Okay, so the hardware will let you do it, but the software
does not.
Okay.
Yeah,
that was my.
You can use a mouse and keyboard for like the Xbox interface or PlayStation interfaces, or for chatting, like in Messenger, but it doesn't. The game itself does not allow for mouse and keyboard. What this does is it's a dongle that goes into the console, into the controller, and then there's another piece that goes output from the controller and into the mouse and keyboard.
Gotcha.
It's just funny to me because I always see people like bitching about controller just getting like aim assist and stuff like that when you're playing against mouse and keyboard players.
I mean, Rainbow Six Siege doesn't have aim assist.
I mean, that's true.
It doesn't have aim assist, so mouse and keyboard is just a blatant overpower. The only community that I feel a little bit bad with this is the disabled gamers out there that were using these features in a way to circumvent some sort of disability, whether they have like missing fingers or some like nerve problems, or they don't have high reaction times for this kind of stuff. It was a little bit of a leveling playing field, but I think that was originally the intent of these kinds of
Well, it looks like by what this
connections.
article is saying though is that it can't detect the equipment connected. It's detecting it by the movement that's
Right.
happening. So like it's scanning for suspicious activity. So it might be a situation where those, for the accessibility issues, it might. I mean, I'm not gonna say that they're not gonna get like hit with this, but
yeah, they still have a chance of being flagged.
right.
It does say there at the bottom that the higher skill group players are the ones that are going to be targeted primarily, just because the movements are going to be more blatant.
Yeah.
It's not going to stop players from playing this way if they are in lower ranks or not performing like ridiculously compared to the rest of the console community.
Right.
Is what it says. I don't know how true that is. From everything I've seen online, it seems like as immediately once you plug in the device and make an input, it like pretty
I mean, it could
much
be overtuned.
detects you immediately.
So
I've not seen anybody legitimately saying that they have gotten Mousetrap activated from console or from controller yet. Everything I've seen claiming that is people that got Mousetrap activated, then plugged in a controller and tried to talk bad.
It probably has
the
to do
program.
with the inputs of like, like detecting the axis with like the analogs of seeing like it's a controller because it has to cross this like threshold of the dead, the middle and then go, because that's like the main difference like with mouse and keyboard is like you don't have to cross that threshold. You can snap back and forth like at any point.
And I know a few podcasts ago I brought this up because they were talking about launching it soon, and we had a few people in chat that didn't see this like mouse and keyboard use as a problem. What do you guys think about mouse and keyboard use on consoles for competitive games anyway? Because not only is Siege doing this currently and actually implementing it, which it's going to be a back and forth between Ubisoft and the software developers for the mouse and keyboard interfaces like Zim, like all that stuff too. They're basically going to be going back and forth to see if they can outcode each other. It's going to be Hacker Wars 2.0. But Destiny 2, I think, has been taking notes, or there might be some communication because it's ironically timed, has stated that they are also going to be taking actions against mouse and keyboard use.
See, that's interesting to me.
And they're going with outright banning. They're not going with the input latency. They're just going to kick you.
See, that's interesting because like I could see it on the side of like the PvP aspect for Destiny, but like I don't see it as a problem for like just the PvE raid content. So like,
I don't know if there's a way for them to differentiate between the two.
That was like the one thing like if they could differentiate that.
Speaking of raid content, it would like console times like raid races and stuff are supposed to be legit on the hardware that you're doing, and I know that mouse and keyboard it's an unofficial event and whatnot, but raid racing would give you an advantage over controller just because you would be able to hit weak spots quicker and more accurately.
Gotcha. I actually don't know nothing about the raid races. I haven't heard of those, so I don't know how serious that is, but I guess I could see some.
They're pretty big events from what I understand with the Destiny community.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. I think it depends on the game.
I wouldn't be surprised if Call of Duty comes out with something like this once Microsoft picks them up, or even prior, because it seems like it is becoming a problem for competitive FPS games on console.
Yeah, but then again, like Call of Duty does have aim assist. Like that's
Call of Duty does have aim assist. You're not wrong.
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking like it depends on the game. Like Rainbow Six, it makes sense. They don't have it is a blatant advantage. But in Call of Duty, like they have aim assist. They're almost on even ground still.
Right.
I mean the so I'll tell you right here. I'll take the hot take, and I'll take the flack that I'm sure we're gonna get in our socials and whatever else. But I have said this openly on my stream, and will stand by it, that I think aim assist should not be a thing. Period. I think that it is your choice on what you play on, whether you play on mouse and keyboard or whether you play on controller. And yes, I've heard the arguments of like, oh, but the latency time for moving a stick versus like how you can flick with a mouse. You're absolutely right. But it's my choice that I have learned to play on a mouse and keyboard. And if I think like, if we're going to talk about evening playing fields and making it all the same, well, if you make everybody the exact same, right, where there's no aim assist, there's no nothing, right, you're just choosing to play on that platform, then I think that, you know, to me, it's not a problem. Like whether you play on controller or you play on mouse and keyboard, whether you're on console or not, I don't know. I don't know enough about the Rainbow Six Siege community to see like the issue here, and I'm struggling to see like the issue with mouse and keyboard versus on a console. Like it, to me, like I guess they could have gone the other way and just said, "Hey, we're going to allow it." I guess they did allow it. I don't know.
They've allowed it for 8 years.
Like, is it? I mean, I don't know. I just, because like I look at like Scuff, like at people that use Scuff controllers or Battle Beavers or modified controllers or the Xbox Elite or PlayStation coming out with their, you know, Elite version or Plus version, whatever their controller's called, you know, side of it, like like if you watch like COD games and ranked COD or anything, like the aim assist that is in that is atrocious. Like it literally locks on. That's
what I was going to say. I feel like we've gotten to a point where aim assist has gone too far in some cases in some games. And if we're talking about COD here specifically, then I do believe their aim assist is way too sticky, and it does give a advantage in some cases. Not to say like it just takes a lot to perform, you know, on mouse and keyboard to keep up with aim assist at points. Like it takes a lot of sweat. and
that's fair.
You know, I just think like it really just does come down to like game to game of like that like balance pretty much.
You also have to remember Rainbow Six Siege is one of the few PvP games out there right now that does not have cross-play between PC and console player bases. They're both actually on completely separate patches because
I think that changes things too then.
Console is specifically patched with controller inputs in mind. There's less latency naturally on console. Or not latency, but recoil naturally on console. The guns are more controllable naturally on console to make up for controller inputs. They're on two completely different patch cycles. There's no crossplay between them. I think that's the biggest reason why Ubisoft went the route that they did, was because they want it to be a fair even playing ground for everybody. They don't want it to become a pay to win aspect where you have to have a third party thing to be able to compete at higher levels or to get an advantage in the game.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair game then for them to you know, implement this, because that's what I was going to say with Sin is like, if we're going to not just have aim assist in general, then you just you take crossplay out, you know, or what is like the best case scenario is you keep crossplay but you make it optional, but that's game to game, you know. And it's even it sucks too, because like in another case of Modern Warfare 2, I think Modern Warfare 2 is just terrible state for some of this stuff right now, is you can't disable crossplay when it comes to being on PC, but you can on console. It's such a weird situation.
It is weird. I think with Call of Duty specifically, I don't think there is a place for something like this to separate, because they've already integrated the PC and the console player bases together. They've overtuned aim assist to be able to compete with a mouse and keyboard and stuff like that. Destiny is a weird one. Is Destiny's player base separated between console and PC, or is there cross play between the two?
I'm pretty sure there's cross play. I don't know about like in their Iron Banner and like ranked modes, like if that is not crossplay, but the mode, the regular mode itself, you can play. I believe you can do like raids and stuff like that and experience content together.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't know. I just, I'm not like, I'm probably the wrong demographic to ask this, because Bill has harped on me before, is like, why the fuck are you playing?
I went on a tangent about you the other day on stream.
Yeah. About using mouse and keyboard.
About mouse and keyboard. Yeah.
Like literally Dome Keeper like says this is best played on a controller, and I'm like, no, fuck that. Like I'm playing on a mouse and keyboard.
You're playing like Dark
Celia
Souls
and
on mouse and
Pork Chop will
keyboard.
vouch that I went in like I wasn't disrespectful.
I
I was
don't
just like, I
care.
don't know how this dude does it. His brain's just built different, I suppose, because I could not play like Nier Automata or any of the Souls games or anything like that
So
on mouse and keyboard.
surprisingly enough, like when I was sick, I downloaded Elden Ring onto my Steam Deck, and uninstalled it because I
'Cause you
tried
hated
playing. I could
control?
not play it on a controller on that,
Okay.
and then reinstalled it when I realized, oh wait, I can just Bluetooth a mouse and keyboard to the fucking thing, and so I Bluetooth the mouse and keyboard.
Oh my
Literally sat
God.
sick in bed with my Steam Deck sitting there playing on mouse and keyboard. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not the right person to ask for this. In my opinion, like mouse and keyboard, everybody take away aim assist, even out the playing field. Let everybody play on whatever the fuck they want and be done with it. And I don't know.
There's no change in Sin's mind on this. It's
yeah.
I mean, that's
So-
fair. That's fair. I'm being somebody that likes Rainbow Six Siege and has recently started playing it both on PC and on console. I'm fairly happy with this change. I think
this
that
is a
you
good
shouldn't
change.
have to be able to. I don't think you should have to buy a third-party piece of hardware just to be able to get a competitive edge. And I have seen enough salties online right now about this change that it was more rampant than I thought it was.
Yeah, and you know there is the argument like like the hardware is accessible on the console for a reason, but I think it just comes again down just like game to game. Like like you stated, like they designed it on console specifically for console controllers and not the other hardware. So I don't
Yeah.
know, you know.
So yeah,
Oh.
we'll see how this goes. There was a announcement by the Zim dev team that they are already working on patching the Zim software to bypass this mousetrap detection. So we'll see how it works out, man. It's going to be a back and forth between Ubisoft and Zim and all of them for a while until Ubisoft just decides to straight up ban, because I think it might come to that if they don't win the hack war.
Thank you for checking out the patch notes. If you enjoyed this small selection from our podcast, come join us every Thursday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern for the full unfiltered pre-patch podcast. And check out our past shows on anchor.fm/prepatch podcast.